Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Not only have I been the owner of Mint Mobile for the last few years, I've also been a customer. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
New activation and upfront payment for 3-month plan required. Taxes and fees extra. Additional restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for full terms.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Selling a little or a lot? Do your thing however you cha-ching with Shopify, the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. Get a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/offer23.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile, with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
New activation and upfront payment for 3-month plan required. Taxes and fees extra. Additional restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for full terms.
For fast dopamine release. Right?
Automatic.
You can shop.
Done.
And get a dopamine, like immediate. You can play on social media, immediate dopamine hit, right? Candy, sugar, processed sugar, dopamine, right? Like, and dopamine's powerful, man. Like that is a powerful hit that you get from that. And dopamine, it's not the wellness. Like I say, it's not wellness.
No.
It's not the happy neurotransmitter. No. It is the more motivational, more.
Hey girl, imagine a life where you feel supported, connected, and understood. I get it. Being a mom is hard, especially when you're spinning so many plates. We exhaust ourselves trying to create the perfect life for our family. You deserve to enjoy your family without the stress perfectionism brings. On this podcast, I provide practical and relatable life experiences. I teach women quick and easy to use strategies to help them reclaim their identity, reignite their marriage, and enjoy their children. If you're ready to be challenged, then pull up a chair, grab pen and paper, because it's about to go down. I'm Veronica Cisneros, a licensed marriage and family therapist, and this is the Empowered and Unapologetic Podcast. Hey ladies, I'm Veronica Cisneros, a licensed marriage and family therapist and the host of the Empowered and Unapologetic Podcast. Today's guest is Maureen Towns, who is the founder and owner of Maureen Towns Consulting, which is a consulting company designed to help families struggling to care for their loved ones with mental health and addiction issues. Maureen's 25 years of nursing experience in both public and private healthcare across Canada and her own family struggle with mental illness and addiction transformed her approach to parenting atypical kids. Today, she enjoys stronger relationships with her kids and a life of freedom from riding the roller coaster of codependent parenting. Oh boy, do I know all about that. With a focus on communication, boundary setting, and advocacy, her mission is to bring that same wholeness, healing, and freedom that she's found to families across the world. Maureen has published her first book, and I'm going to tell you right now, it is really good. It is called Broken Open in 2021, and hosts a community of support for parents who are struggling called the Chaos to Calm membership community. So please help me by welcoming my guest, Maureen Towns. So here I am with, of course, the one and only Maureen. And we are going to get into what I wish I knew about the pandemic and how it's impacted my teens. So Maureen, thank you so much for jumping on, for being on here and helping us out with this topic.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm pretty excited to come on and talk about this because it is such a huge, huge issue. I think, you talk about teens specifically, and I think it's affected everybody.
Oh, hell yeah.
Honestly.
Absolutely.
There's such a spectrum of responses and feelings of people coming out of the pandemic, everywhere from people who can't wait to get back into a big crowd to people who are terrified of it and don't want to go anywhere and, saying things like, I didn't get the memo that the pandemic's over, what's going on. And
yeah.
And then I think if you take any of those responses that you see in adults or in yourself and magnify them by, 50, that's where our teens are sitting.
Yeah.
Just it's huge.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What would you say is something that keeps coming up for you with regards to the pandemic's impact?
I think it's just the fact that everybody's threshold is very, very thin for stress. Yeah. Collectively, we are not as resilient as we used to be. And I think that is a symptom of the past 2.5 years for sure, but also the way our society is set up. We don't have positive reciprocal interactions on the day-to-day. Pre-pandemic, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
The things that build resilience in people, that, like I say, those positive casual interactions with people. Our societies were really, really, really siloed. You tend to drive everywhere. You don't see as much foot traffic in neighborhoods in the evenings. We are built for tribes of 60 to 100 people. And, those are known people. Like, imagine if you were in a neighborhood with 60 to 100 people and you knew those people and you had meaningful relationships and daily interactions with them. Those are resilience building things. But we have interactions with thousands upon thousands daily, especially through social media, and they're not necessarily meaningful. And we now have, pulled out of positive, casual, reciprocal interactions. And so collectively, we are incredibly, incredibly stressed. Absolutely. And change takes energy. And the constant change that we've been through in the last 2.5 years has left us all fairly with little energy left for anything else, including looking after ourselves.
Yeah.
Think about the changes, that you've experienced in the last couple of years. We tend to forget what's gone on, but I made a little list. There was initially the masking, right? And the social distancing that went on. Things were closing down. You were forced to work from home. Kids were off school, homeschooled, back to school, homeschooled.
Just kidding. Homeschool.
Yeah. Went on and on and on. We went from, shortages on toilet paper. You guys probably went through the same thing. Mass shortages on toilet paper. We went through some period here where people forget that you could be pulled over in your car and you had to prove that the people in your vehicle lived in the same household as you, or you could be fined.
Oh, wow.
Which was a short period of time. And I don't even know if anyone was actually pulled over. There was short staffing. There was delays everywhere. We went through new rules for being sick. You couldn't go to school. You couldn't go to work. You couldn't go to crowds if you had a runny nose.
Yeah.
You had to visit outdoors, essential travel only. There was no washrooms for a period of time. So if you went for a walk, you couldn't get in a washroom. People here, I know in Canada, were banging on pots and pans in the evenings as a thank you to healthcare or frontline workers. Then it went from that kind of, thank you to protesting at hospitals, and some healthcare worker abuse has gone on. We went from having too much info to no info to too much info to no info. So the change has been rapid and constant.
Yeah. And as you were starting to kind of list all of these, you're right. It happened, we adapt. It happened, we adapt. It happened, we adapt. However, are we really adapting? Right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
it's kind of like everything else most of us do. Okay, we're just going to brush that under the rug. Like, it wasn't a big deal. Okay. You asked me to wear a mask. I wore a mask. Now I can take it off. Okay. I take it off. My kid can go to school. No, they can't. All right, cool. Okay. What's next? And although there is some emotional attachment to that, or it triggers us or frustrates us, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to harbor it. I'm not going to stay with it. I'm going to move forward. However, it impacts all of us substantially. Mm-hmm. And for us adults, it impacts us, and it impacts the way we interact, the way we are in our relationships. But I think one of the biggest things we forget is our kids, if we're struggling with adapting, just kind of how you mentioned, where are our teens at?
Absolutely. We're struggling to adapt, and we know it, it's temporary.
Yep.
We know everything comes and goes. Teens don't necessarily know that.
Yep.
We aren't at a phase of our lives where we're individuating, and that we're developing a sense of self, in response to our peer relationships. They are.
Yep.
And they've been blocked off from that. So I think that, being a teenager in that time would have been horrendous. Plus, they're watching their parents and their family members who are stressed, right?
Yeah.
And for those of us who, I was well-resourced during the pandemic, and, my income wasn't affected.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who weren't well-resourced during the pandemic and whose income was affected. So you're worried about your livelihood. The stress in your home and in your family is going to be through the roof, and your teens are going to feel it.
Absolutely.
They're going to take it on, and they don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to process it. They probably don't want to ask for help because you're stressed, and so they're just, like you say, like times 100, times 500. That's how your teens are feeling.
Yeah.
And I think, even I am still processing. So what happened?
Yeah.
How am I really doing? Am I okay? How do I get okay?
Yeah.
And like I say, I have perspective and a sense that this isn't permanent. And I don't think that teens necessarily have that.
Yeah. With learning about how the pandemic has affected our brains and the ability to adapt to stress, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I think that, there's a study that was done by, I think, Dr. Bruce Perry. Either he did the study or he cites the study, and he's a neurodevelopment development and trauma specialist. And he talks about, we crave the familiar when we are taxed, when we are stressed. And he cites this study about kids in a hospital, and these kids were in the hospital, and they're away from their family of origin, and their future is somewhat uncertain. And in the study, they went into the hospital and took these kids a brand new shiny toy. And they also offered these kids a toy from home, maybe even broken, scratched up, well-used toy. And they offered the kids and said, which one do you want? And the kids took the toy from home. Mm-hmm. And that helped me to get my head around what was happening for me, because I'm an extrovert and I crave, human interaction. And yet when I'm offered the opportunity to go out and have human interaction, I go get all dressed up to get groceries or go to the dentist or whatever it is. I go out and I can't wait to get home. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on there? And I think it's that there's so much newness. There's so much to be on guard for. I'm watching things. I'm listening. I hear people cough and I notice, I realize I'm getting funny looks in the grocery store. Oh my gosh, I'm going the wrong way down an aisle. All of this takes energy. And I don't have anything left. I'm not necessarily feeling recharged by going out. I want to go home, close the door, close the blinds, and sit on the sofa.
Yeah.
You just don't have anything left.
Definitely.
Novelty takes energy.
As you're saying that, it made me think of, like myself and my day-to-day, and even the girls. And I remember there was one day, there was a lot of travel, but there was one day where it was like, I can be on social media all day. And it didn't dawn on me on how long we were sitting there flipping until a couple hours went by. And I started to notice the change from lightness to darkness. And it was like, holy shit, we haven't done anything. We've been here. And don't get me wrong, it was nice to not do anything. And at the same time, like, there was zero interaction between me and the kids, right? Which sometimes, don't get me wrong, that could be totally a good thing. But there was like, for me, it was like, I need to get us the hell out of here. I need to get us out of here. And I'm going to tell you right now, Maureen, I didn't want to do that. And even when I come home, I want to just be home and I want to just be with what's familiar. And I know better that's probably going to, if we do that long enough, that's probably going to cause symptoms, going down the line of depression, anxiety, or anything else. But yeah, I appreciate that you said that. It's something familiar. It's something that we've done for a very long time. I know for me with quarantine, I loved everything about it because I had my family and my kids with me all of the time. And now it's pushing ourselves to go ahead and do something different when we've been faced with so many transitions and not wanting to challenge anything.
Yeah. So I like what you're saying because it's, I can do the same thing. I can stay on social media. I can binge watch Netflix, and yet I'm not really present.
Yeah.
To anything.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it's like, is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world, but it isn't recharging you
at all.
No, it's not giving you a sense of well-being. And so I think about that with, we crave isolation. We crave, shutting everything out because it's a lot, right? There's a lot going on and it's hard to adjust and to find that balance. And I think about, your body's always sending you signals, right? Your body is always telling you something, right?
Yeah.
Your heart rate's a little high, your stomach's a little bit upset. And I know that I'm not, and I know a lot of people are not very good at listening to the signals that your body's sending you and interpreting them. And so what I tend to do is, my body's sending me signals and I'm uncomfortable. So what I'll do, like I say, put the Netflix on and play Candy Crush on my phone, right? Which is essentially we talk about that as numbing out. Well, that's just actually shutting down the signals that my body's trying to tell me that I need to do something for myself. So I'm just shutting it down. I'm actually putting the mute button on the signals and ignoring it. I'm not actually doing anything to resolve the distress that I'm in.
Yeah.
And so when it's over, like you say, you kind of put the phone down and you go, well, that wasn't the end of the world, but I don't really feel well. And I know this isn't going to lead to anything positive. And so there's a difference between numbing out, which is, you can be on social media and we know that it stimulates dopamine, which is the more neurotransmitter. But the well-being neurotransmitter, the serotonin, is what's lacking. That's what my body wants me to relax, right? My sympathetic nervous system is overstimulated, too much change, too much stress. I don't like what's going on. And so what I need to do then is sort of balance things out. Our bodies crave homeostasis and balance. So we need to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system or your vagal system. And things like anything with rhythmic movement is vagal, right? So that's why meditation is so good, or,
bringing you back to bringing you back to the present.
Yeah. Or, if you love cooking and you're cooking or, you're moving around while you're doing it or dancing or, for some people it's sitting in nature and watching the clouds, reading a book, going for a walk. These are the sorts of things that will actually increase serotonin, which is a sense of well-being, as opposed to numbing out the distress with dopamine. And
I don't think any of us know the difference. One of your topics is, how do we easily confuse self-care with social isolation? I loved that point. I loved that point. how do we confuse self-care with social isolation?
Well, I think, I put the point in there because I've been there. I've been confused. Like I know I need downtime. So, and I know it's good to learn how to say no to things so you don't overcommit. So I've done that, but I kind of just want to I don't want to answer emails or the phone or the door. I'm hiding. I'm actually hiding from the world.
Yeah.
And when it's over and I sit and I think, do I feel well? The answer is no, I don't actually. I don't feel well. I feel like hiding more.
Yeah.
And I compare that to, and it's a long time. It's been so long since, we've had these feelings, but, I had my kids over towards the end of the pandemic, and I had my kids over for dinner, and we were outside in the yard, and I had dinner with them. And I mean, it wasn't there wasn't fireworks going off the whole time or anything. It was fairly calm and fairly low key, and they weren't here that long, which is good because we're kind of trying to ease back into things.
Yeah.
And I can be a little bit socially exhausted. But when they left that night and the next day, I'm walking around with a big smile on my face, feeling super grateful.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So I feel unwell. I want to hide from the world. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't feel recharged.
Yeah.
To find the thing that makes you smile and feel grateful for the connection that you've had either with yourself or with nature or your dog or your family or your friends. Like where is that thing for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think it's so easy for us to confuse the two? Because kind of like the example I gave, like, we've been traveling, we've been gone all day, or we were gone every single week, me looking, outside in, you need to, I remember even saying it to somebody. We spent all day at home, and they're like, oh my God, yeah, girl, you needed it. You haven't been home. You were here. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I did need it. However, in reality, there was still that social isolation component, even though I was surrounded by my kids.
Yeah. How would it have been different for you if you'd stayed home and played a game with your kids?
Oh my gosh, so much different. Different. And there was that exhaustion. There was that like fatigue, that heaviness. And we all felt it. And it's like, wait a minute. And I don't want to make it so crazy extreme, like, okay, Veronica, calm down. But for that day, we checked out.
I think it's a really important distinction because I, like you say, it's so easy to get mixed up in there.
Yes.
And so you need to really slow down and stop and think like you did. Whoa, what's happening here right now? It takes a little bit of energy to make yourself put your phones down and play play a game. And I think we are presented now with so many opportunities for fast dopamine release. Right?
Automatic.
You can shop and get a dopamine, like immediate. You can play on social media, immediate dopamine hit, right? Candy, sugar, processed sugar, dopamine, right? Alcohol, drugs,
done.
Netflix, and dopamine's powerful, man. Like that is a powerful hit that you get from that. And dopamine, it's not the wellness. Like I say, it's not wellness.
No.
It's not the happy neurotransmitter. No. It is the more motivational, more.
Yeah.
So if you're noticing that, and I found this over the pandemic, I used to be able to sit and watch a movie and be present for the movie.
Yeah.
Now I need the movie and I want to play on my phone.
Yes.
And I have trouble sitting still and I'm going to get up and go to the fridge and sit down and I need food with it.
Yep.
That is the more. What used to satisfy me doesn't do it anymore.
I think another thing I want to make sure I piggyback on is, let's say with TikTok, I was watching it. Don't get me wrong, I love TikTok. And I was just kind of going through my scroll and it was like, holy shit. Like, I think I just watched somebody die. I think I just watched, somebody die. Then I think I watched something die. I know it was a lion. I don't know what the hell it ate, but it looked like a person, but it could have been a deer. Who knows? Right. And then at the same time, the next video is somebody cheated on somebody and their reaction. And then the next video is something hilarious. And then the next thing is something relatable with work. And they're all 30-second snippets, right? Or 20, however long they are. But it's like, I appreciate that you're talking about that dopamine and that instant gratification, instant high, more, because an hour or whatever it is, into it, I started, let's say at 10 and now it's 12 or whatever it is. But it's like, holy shit, I've gone through so many different forms of emotional, an emotional reaction. And yet I have yet to process any of it. And then I'm expected to go to bed or I'm expected to carry on my day. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And think about, imagine if you didn't have connectivity, what would you do with your evening? Let's say you have no TV, no computer, no cell phone. How would you spend your time in the evening?
Oh, yeah, my ass would be outside. I would jump in the pool. We have a pool, Maureen. We have a pool. Don't get me wrong. We did that. When did we do that? We did that yesterday with clothes on. Brooklyn was like, you want to go in the pool, Mom? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I was like, you want to go in the pool with your clothes on? She had shorts and a shirt and I had my pajamas. And she's like, oh my God, yeah. Jumped in the pool. I was like, fuck this. We're getting out. We're getting out.
Yeah. Or like back in the 1950s, people would go for a walk after dinner.
Yeah.
Right? You'd go for a stroll down the sidewalk. You'd meet your neighbors outside and have a cup of tea, right? You would read a book. You would read a book to your kids. You would, or sit as a family and listen to a radio show, whatever the thing. But there was an interaction. There was a connection, like a real human connection, right? That's resilience building.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas what we're faced with is interruptions in that process. And so it takes some conscious energy to say, okay, what's easy and habitual is actually not serving me. And this gets really hard though with teens, right? Try telling your teen that they don't need to be on social media. Yeah. Try telling your teen they need more time with the family. And it's not necessarily that they need time with the family. Like I said, they're individuating, they need time with their peers, but they need authentic connection, not Instagram, not TikTok. Yeah. They need to be like reciprocal relationships. So, have your friends over, jump in the pool with your clothes on, but everybody leave their phones at the door. Let's try that for a little while. Yeah. Because I think we need to rebuild, what's been lost, which is a couple of years of, in-person schooling, a couple of years of in-person extracurricular activities. Our teens, poor little teen brains, are suffering. They've not made connections that they otherwise would have, in their brains. And I think that it's important to, really, really almost not just create opportunities, but almost set the stage for success here. So that, put your phone down and let's go jump in the pool with our clothes on.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. Definitely.
Let's do something kind of funny.
Yeah. I think we've all fallen into that familiarity because for the most part, we believed that that's all we had. That was our only way to connect with, our friends. That was the only way to connect with anybody outside was through some form of social media, and this is their familiar. This is the teens' familiar. And this is their way of relating with somebody. Or even, I remember, I forgot who it was. I think it was one of my kids' friends. And it was like, oh my God, you totally got to check out my best friend. And I'm looking at the TikTok and I was like, oh, cool. How long have you guys been friends for or whatever? And it's like, oh no, it's my friend on TikTok. Like, they're only friends because she can relate with everything that this TikToker is displaying or whatever their content is. And it's like, oh crap. But we attach ourselves to that and we stay stuck.
The word friend has changed, hasn't it?
Oh, substantially. Absolutely.
Love, these are all words that get tossed around completely differently than they used to.
I know looking for the right therapist can be challenging. However, feeling overwhelmed and disconnected is even harder. Life is filled with several twists and turns, some more severe than others. We do our best to handle them as they come and find ourselves at a loss, not knowing what to do or who to turn to. The clinicians here at Outside the Norm Counseling are here to help. We are here to assist you through this time of need. Together, we will identify your strengths and goals and teach you healthy coping skills. Together, we will develop a plan to help you live the life you want to live. Our team is compassionate, genuine, and we take a great deal of pride in providing an empathetic, non-judgmental approach to all of our clients. It's time. You've waited long enough, whether it be for you, your child, or if you're in need of a couple session. We are highly trained clinicians ready to guide you. Schedule an appointment now by calling 951-395-3288. Again, that number is 951-395-3288. We're looking forward to meeting you and being a part of your journey.
So let's go to, you mentioned on here, using a self-care assessment tool to assess your current state of well-being. Mm-hmm. Why is that important? What is it?
Well, this is part of a workshop that I do, and that's coming up. Actually, there's a workshop coming up on September 6th, and it's free. It's free. But as part of the workshop, I do hand out, I've created a self-care assessment tool. And, self-care is a term that gets tossed around a lot. And I think it's such a trite term for such a big deal, right?
Yes.
It's a big deal, man. It's a big thing. And it's not necessarily like, maybe you know what self-care is, but maybe you don't. If you think that self-care is, like I say, time on the sofa, numbing out, not so much. No. And so it's really important to break down what exactly are the components of self-care. And so I have, 7 of them. There's 7 things that you can take into consideration when you're assessing, how am I doing right now? Yeah. And it's, and one of them is social, and connection with others, and real connection, not like. Mm-hmm. It's, have I had a conversation? Do I feel connected? Do I relate to what you're saying and feeling? And can you relate to what I'm saying and feeling? Do I feel seen and heard by you in a really authentic, genuine way? And that's what connection's all about. So social is one of them. Emotional, like you said, am I able to, you talked about seeing these images on social media, and you've got these emotions that you haven't processed, and you go to bed. And so, this is something that we need to learn. And as kids, you don't necessarily know how to handle the feelings that you've got. You do rely on your parents and the people who love you in your life to help you co-regulate, help you to process the feelings that you've got. So you have to be, face to face, I think, with people. Yeah. Even I would consider this face to face with you to learn how to process and actually feel the feelings that you've got. Yeah. Or it just gets stored away.
Well, and when we're having like, for example, this conversation that we're having, you're going to have your feelings, you're going to have your stance, I'm going to have mine. Mm-hmm. We're still able to have a conversation about it. Mm-hmm. And we're still able to go ahead and talk through it, communicate, versus I just automatically know I like this person because they can relate. I believe they can relate with me. Yeah. I have no interaction with them, and I'm only focused on all of these videos that are relatable, and they tell my story. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of kids that'll come in and they'll say, "Hey, Veronica, I want you to watch a TikTok with me because this TikTok it's like this person gets me. And this is how I know you're going to gain a better understanding of who I am." Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, I'll put the phone down. I'm definitely going to want to see this TikTok. However, help me understand who you are as a person. What is it about this TikTok, right? Tell me more about this person. What do you imagine them to be like?
And when you're describing that, I would think that if the only person that I thought really got me was someone I'd never met or interacted with on TikTok, I would feel very isolated and alone. I would feel so lonely. I might feel validated that someone else in the world has that feeling, but I still feel very, very alone and unseen.
Yep.
Like that's not processing your emotions. That's might be identifying them, but it certainly isn't feeling them and learning to handle them in a constructive way.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that's a little bit scary.
Well, yeah, this is one of the primary reasons why I definitely wanted to do this. And like I said, I was kind of going over, some of the things that that's coming up with regards to your workshop. And I was like, I need to bring Maureen back. Bring Maureen back because, your story with, the journey with your kids, and how open you were in our last interview and just the amount of knowledge and, information you have, it comes from this true place of authenticity, and you and I are really good with just having conversations, and being able to just kind of put it out there. Right.
Yeah.
And so, you see this video and I do watch the video. I think it's important for all of us. If your kid's coming up to you with a video that's saying this describes me, watch the damn video. Yeah. However, have a conversation after.
Yeah, why is it so important to you?
Yes.
What do you want me to know about you from this video? Can you put it into words? Can you say it to me? Like, I agree with you. Of course, you'd watch the video, right? Yeah. I mean, you take any bits of.
I'll take
of them that they're giving you, right?
Take all of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to go back to the self-care components for a second, if you don't mind. So the social, the emotional, then we get into mental. What's your mindset? Are you feeling optimistic and positive? Are there ways to, and how do you set that up? Then there's physical, all the things you do to care for your physical body, right? How am I eating?
Yeah.
How am I sleeping?
Yeah.
Do I move my body every day? Can I squat?
Can I bend over, then stand back up and not feel dizzy?
Exactly. Can you get down on the floor and get back up again? Do you need a crane? These kinds of things.
Yeah.
Recreational. Do you actually have things in your life that help you to bring out your inner child, that sense of wonder and amazement? I always think about that as I love laying under a tree and looking up and watching the clouds. I like watching bugs. I mean, this takes me back to being, a little kid.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, it's just, you're just so there. And then you look at spiritual, do you have a sense of purpose? Can you connect with it? Do you feel like it's being put to use in your day to day? And then your environment. I mean, I can look around my office. And does it give me a sense of well-being? Do I need to rearrange it? Do I need to tidy it up? Maybe I need some more color in here. Maybe I need a candle or two. I don't know. But so those are your 7 components of self-care, which is a sense of well-being. I mean, these are the things that bring about that serotonin, if you want, or like a sense of contentedness. And I think about a connection with myself, my place in the world, the people that I love, what's important to me, all the things. So self-care is a lot more than a mani-pedi,
Yes, 100%. Another thing, just to kind of go back to what you were saying with regards to self-care, some of the teens that I see, once I start to encourage, them going for walks or being a little bit more active, we're looking at possible, recommending medication, obviously I'm going to have them do an assessment first. I'm going to work with the psychiatrist if they do start that. But it's like, I want to see before I get to that level, if you going for a walk around the damn block is going to start to change things before we even introduce those things, and I'm going to tell you, Maureen, when I start to see, it kind of goes back to our question that we had earlier before we hit record. When I start to see those kids going for walks, things that would look like depression, things that would look like anxiety, or even that inability to focus, there's so much changes. There's so many changes, right? There's so many changes because now I'm not seeing this kid as depressed. They're getting sun. There's a little bit of color to them, right? But in addition to that, there's definitely a lot more confidence. You know, they start to talk to me about what, you know, what they ran into or what they saw or what they did. And, you know, how one walk around the block ended up running into some friends that were playing a game of ball, and they're now playing ball. And guess what, Veronica? I'm like now part of their team. And there's this heightened level of excitement and this desire to thrive. Right?
Yeah. And our poor teens don't necessarily know that that's out there and available to them. We do.
Yeah.
Like I'm aware, like, if I know that I'll feel better if I, you know, go for a walk outside around the block, you know, weed the garden, you know,
something,
stretch, you know, like move your body a little bit and get outside. And like you say, like make yourself available for some of those positive interactions that you can't have if you're sitting in your house. My daughter last year had a bit of I would say an emotional crisis, not this year, but last year, like to the point where, and this can happen. Like if you can interrupt that decline and say, go for a walk, and they do, and they, you're right. Like you can kind of climb out of it.
Yeah.
She didn't, and I didn't know she was in trouble until she was in the pit, you know? Yeah. She couldn't get out for a walk. She couldn't function. And in that situation, you know, we used medication to get her to the point where she could get out for a walk.
Yes.
You know, it's not that you use medication and not the other things.
No,
it's that I said, Allie, you know, you're in the pit, man. Like she couldn't go to the doctor by herself, and she's like 24, you know, and that's like not normal for her. She's a very independent girl. And so, like it, you know, it sometimes, you don't give up the healthy self-care behaviors, but sometimes you need some meds to get you to the point where you can actually implement those things.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're highlighting that because, you know, our topic is, you know, how the pandemic has impacted our teens. It's not one of those things like just get up off your ass and do something. Yeah. It's not that easy. No. You know, and when I'm recommending, you know, some of these teens to go for a walk, there's so much more work, right? There's so much more work before I even recommend that, right? Because that could essentially feel like a quick fix. But being able as a parent, as a couple, mom and dad, to understand, for both of you to have this level of understanding that it is not that big and it's not that easy. Mm-hmm. And with TikTok, with all of these social media platforms becoming our best friends, it's going to be very difficult for us to identify. And I'm so glad you're covering this topic, the difference between self-care and self-isolation, when that's all we've had for a good majority of, you know, what it was a year and a half, you know, probably 2 years, two and a half years that we're at now. Yeah. It's
March 2020, right?
Yes. So you have quarantine for that year and a half, or however long you were in quarantine for. Then you have that the pandemic, you know, that, we're still trying to recover from. These kids, all they've known and all they've been conditioned to do for a good amount of time in quarantine during the pandemic was instant gratification. Help me feel something different than what I'm experiencing.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a getaway.
Yeah.
Give me some form of getaway.
Shut
give me a distraction.
This agony off, please.
Yes.
Please stop. You know, and I think about, you say it's not that easy. And I always say, it's not easy at all. It might be quite simple, but it's not easy. It's very, very difficult. And I think that, you know, I think about there was times during the pandemic that I was so rattled and on edge, and I didn't even recognize it until I was out, you know, getting the coffee at Starbucks, and I just about lost my mind on this man in the Starbucks for standing too close to me, which is like, holy smokes, you know, that was interesting. What happened there? You know, I just don't have the threshold for stress. And so if your teen is at that place, and as a parent, you're going to them and saying, you know, I want to be I don't know about you, but I always wanted to be the helper for my kids, right? Like I can do it. I can do it.
I got it all. I got it all.
I got it. I can do it. Yep. I'm going to be your best friend, confidant. I'm almost here. But,
tag me. I'm in. Tag me.
Tag me. I'm in.
Yeah.
But I'm not the right person, because from me, it sounds like you don't understand. You don't get it. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
I sound like a duck quacking in their ear. And really what they need from me is love, acceptance, some validation, to be seen and heard, and to know that I'm a trusted resource for them, to get some help. And so my job is to, like I say, it's okay. Everybody needs help now and again.
Yes.
It's your turn today.
Yes.
Let me be the person who gives you a hand. Let's get you out to the car, and we're going to get you an appointment, and we're going to take you to see someone who can give you a hand.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be me. I'm your rah-rah, because I'm your mom. That's my job. Rah-rah, you can do it. I believe in you. You got this. And when you don't got this, I'm going to give you a hand until you feel like you can get this. Right. So that's, and my job is also to remind them that they don't always have to feel the way they feel, that everything changes,
Yeah.
and, and keep reminding them of that, because as teens, right, they feel terrible. And all they know is that this is probably, it's always going to be this bad. They're always going to feel lonely. They're always going to feel tired. They're always going to feel fat, ugly, left out, isolated, too skinny, too big, too tall, too short, whatever it is. It seems like it's going to last forever when you're a teenager.
Maureen, we've covered so much, so much in this time. I'm not even sure how long we've been recording, but we've covered so much. How can people get in contact with you? How can people work with you?
A consult's always free, and the workshop's free. You can find the consult buttons and the sign up for workshop buttons on my website, which is just my name, MaureenTowns.com. I'm not hard to find.
We're definitely going to have that in the show notes. What about with social media? Social media as well, Maureen Towns?
Yeah, I think on LinkedIn, I'm at Maureen Towns. And I think Facebook, it's Maureen Towns Consulting, really. Yeah.
Why would you say it's really important for parents, especially, to join this workshop?
Well, I think it's as important as listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think that until you can start to identify what's going on, and learn how to, I'm a big proponent of role modeling healthy behaviors.
Hell yes.
So,
hell yes. Our kids are always watching.
They're watching what you do.
They're always watching.
They're watching what you do, not so much listening to what you say, right?
Yeah.
Talk is cheap. So if you can start even, role modeling some of the behaviors of self-care, and then incorporate some of what we are talking about into some of your conversations with your kids, start reflecting on, well, how do you feel after a day on social media? How do you feel after a day of going for a hike or swimming, or, let's talk about what the difference is and look into it. I think that's why it's important for parents to know this stuff. You need to know what's going on for you, and so that you can almost identify it. And give some language to it for your kids.
Yep. I love that part. I think it's so important for us to educate ourselves. And a lot of the things that we're saying, it's okay. It's not. And we know it's not. And we can ignore it, and we can pretend like it's not there. But I know for me, even as a therapist, I'm seeing some of the ways it's impacted me, and trying to reverse it. Even though I have the skills to reverse it, I'm going to tell you right now, just kind of hearing some of the things you were saying, it's like, oh shit, yeah, I totally did that. And that kind of brought up, the example, that I gave. But yeah, none of us are privy to, being indestructible.
No.
Right? We're all going to be impacted, recognizing how we're modeling unhealthy behavior for our kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think about some of my biggest regrets is not knowing how to really actually look after myself truly well,
Yeah.
Because if I don't know how to process my own emotions, I'm certainly not going to be able to help my kids process theirs. And that's the way it was for our family growing up. My daughter said to me the other day, Mom, when we were kids, we really weren't taught, how to process anything, some of those strong feelings that we were all having. And I'm like, you're fair enough. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
And of course, if you had a strong feeling, keep it to yourself, because I can't handle your strong feelings because I don't know how to handle my own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we get into this. You've got to learn how to do this for yourself so that you can then be healthy and role model that for your kids. And some of my biggest regrets, not knowing that, right? When my kids were younger. But anyway, I do know it now.
We know it now. And we're working on it. We're working on it. We're work in progress. We're all work in progress. I'm still learning.
This is not to say I don't watch Netflix and play Candy Crush. I do. I do this.
But we're aware of it.
But then I'll go for a walk. I'll go for a walk right after that. Yeah.
Maureen, thank you so much for jumping on again with us. This was amazing.
Thank you so, so much. I love the work that you're doing. It's super important, and keep it up.
Yeah. Well, one badass to the other badass, right?
Thanks.
Many women lose their own identity in the shadow of being a mom and a wife. We are a community of women who support each other. We leave perfectionism behind to become empowered and unapologetic. I want to personally invite you to join our Girl Gang. It's a free Facebook community for women just like you. Go to www.facebook.com/groups/empowered and unapologetic. See you there. What's up, ladies? Just want to let you guys know that your ratings and reviews for this podcast are greatly appreciated. If you love this podcast, please go to iTunes right now, write a review, rate the episode, and subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends.
Addiction impacts all of us. Addiction's consequences run through all of us. From ourselves to our loved ones and through our communities, addiction creates so much loss and grief. My name is Dwayne Osterlin, and I'm the host of the Addicted Mind podcast, a show featuring personal stories, expert guests, and vital information about addiction and addiction recovery. We'll talk with leading treatment providers to discuss the latest research and treatment options for this devastating disease and advocate for mental health awareness. We discuss topics like the importance of creating a community of support, to helping loved ones, to some of the latest research on psychedelic medicines. The Addicted Mind podcast has been about creating hope, listening to stories of many amazing people that have overcome addiction and are thriving. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, subscribe to the Addicted Mind podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or check out theaddictedmind.com. New episodes every Monday. See you there. Addiction impacts all of us. Addiction's consequences run through all of us. From ourselves to our loved ones and through our communities, addiction creates so much loss and grief. My name is Dwayne Osterlin, and I'm the host of the Addicted Mind podcast, a show featuring personal stories, expert guests, and vital information about addiction and addiction recovery. We'll talk with leading treatment providers to discuss the latest research and treatment options for this devastating disease and advocate for mental health awareness. We discuss topics like the importance of creating a community of support, to helping loved ones, to some of the latest research on psychedelic medicines. The Addicted Mind podcast has been about creating hope, listening to stories of many amazing people that have overcome addiction and are thriving. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, subscribe to the Addicted Mind podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or check out theaddictedmind.com. New episodes every Monday. See you there.
It's easy to blame ourselves for our struggles with alcohol. We see people around us being able to control their drinking without any consequences, yet no matter what we try, we can't seem to figure it out for ourselves. My name is Jillian Teets, and I am the host of the Sober Powered podcast, where I use my biochemistry background to explain the latest research in addiction and help you understand both why you drink the way you do and how to develop the skills and mindset you need to find freedom from alcohol. I discuss topics like why we think about our drinking 24/7, why we have no off switch, and why we crave alcohol. If you're struggling with your drinking or you know someone who is, then I hope that you will check out the Sober Powered podcast. New episodes every Friday. See you there.
Addiction impacts all of us. Addiction's consequences run through all of us. From ourselves to our loved ones and through our communities, addiction creates so much loss and grief. My name is Dwayne Osterlin, and I'm the host of the Addicted Mind podcast, a show featuring personal stories, expert guests, and vital information about addiction and addiction recovery. We'll talk with leading treatment providers to discuss the latest research and treatment options for this devastating disease and advocate for mental health awareness. We discuss topics like the importance of creating a community of support to helping loved ones to some of the latest research on psychedelic medicines. The Addicted Mind podcast has been about creating hope, listening to stories of many amazing people that have overcome addiction and are thriving. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, subscribe to the Addicted Mind podcast wherever you get your podcasts or check out theaddictedmind.com. New episodes every Monday. See you there.
It's easy to blame ourselves for our struggles with alcohol. We see people around us being able to control their drinking without any consequences, yet no matter what we try, we can't seem to figure it out for ourselves. My name is Jillian Teets, and I am the host of the Sober Powered podcast, where I use my biochemistry background to explain the latest research in addiction and help you understand both why you drink the way you do and how to develop the skills and mindset you need to find freedom from alcohol. I discuss topics like why we think about our drinking 24/7, why we have no off switch, and why we crave alcohol. If you're struggling with your drinking or you know someone who is, then I hope that you will check out the Sober Powered podcast. New episodes every Friday. See you there.
Oh, hey, it's Erin.
And I'm Michaela, and we're the hosts of the Two Sober Girls podcast, and we are on a mission to spill the wild truth about sobriety.
Forget the rosé all day cliche. Sobriety is flipping amazing.
Absolutely. It's not just about quitting the drink. It's a gift you give yourself and your loved ones.
So what are you waiting for? Break up with that old toxic relationship with alcohol and let us show you the possibilities.
And here's the thing. Everything your precious heart desires becomes way easier without the influence of alcohol.
We're not just two sober girls, we're also wellness coaches. We're here to show you how to optimize health, lifestyle, and beauty, feel sexy and alive as F.
So stay tuned because we're rolling out new episodes every Monday wherever you get your podcasts, and trust us, they have your name written all over them. We can't wait to share the magic of sobriety and wellness with you. Subscribe to Two Sober Girls podcast today and come follow us on Instagram for behind the scenes action and send us a DM. We can't wait to meet you.